All right, let's get into it. Deep in the heart of Silicon Valley, there's a new obsession taking hold, and it's a big one. They're looking at aging not as, an inevitable part of life, but as an engineering problem, a bug in our human operating system that can be debugged, optimized, and maybe even solved.
So let me ask you this. What if the most important number isn't the date you were born? What if your birth certificate is actually wrong about how old you really are? It's a wild idea, and it's driving a multi-billion-dollar quest. And this whole thing hinges on a concept called biological age. See, unlike your chronological age, the number of candles on your cake, this is supposed to measure your body's true age right down at the cellular level. It looks at complex stuff like your DNA methylation patterns to spit out a score of how well your body's actually holding up on the inside.
So who's actually buying into all this? Well, it's become Silicon Valley's new obsession, and that's exactly where we're going to start.
Look, this isn't some fringe thing happening in a garage somewhere. We are talking about the titans of tech. Big shot venture capitalists like Meltem Demirors, startup founders, and these high-profile influencers like Brian Johnson, who has literally turned his own body into one giant age reversal experiment. These people are tracking their biological age like it's the stock market.
And this quote from an anonymous VC just nails the mindset perfectly. He said, "It's like hacking your own OS, even if the code is buggy. To them, the human body is just the ultimate operating system, and it's one that can be optimized and upgraded if you just have the right data."
Which, of course, leads us to the appeal. I mean, who wouldn't be interested? So let's look at the incredible promise of this whole biohacking movement.
And the entry fee to this world is surprisingly low. Companies like Elysium Health and Inside Tracker are selling these at-home kits. We're talking anywhere from $100 to $500 that promise to unlock the secrets of your cellular age from just a simple blood or saliva sample.
And the ambition here, wow, it is absolutely staggering. XPRIZE founder Peter Diamandis isn't just talking about a few extra good years. Nope. He's predicting we could add an extra 30 healthy years to our lives. And get this, within a decade. All thanks to AI that could actually design molecules to reverse aging. Okay, it all sounds pretty incredible, right? Like something straight out of science fiction. But now, it is time for a serious reality check. Just how reliable is the science behind these tests you can buy online?
Let me tell you a quick story that just cuts right through all the hype. There was this one venture capitalist super curious about his own biological age, and he decides to take not one, not two, but 3 different popular tests, all around the same time. The results were, they were very revealing.
The first test comes back. It tells him he has the body of a 21-year-old. I mean, amazing news, right? He's probably celebrating.
But then the second test result lands. This one says his biological age is 38. Uh-oh, that's a 17-year jump. Suddenly things are getting a little confusing.
And finally, the third test comes in, pegging his biological age at 40. So, to recap, in the span of just a few weeks, he was a college kid, a professional in his late 30s, and on the cusp of middle age. This one story just shows you the huge consistency problem this whole industry has.
And this is where the experts weigh in. Biologist Matt Coberlin puts it bluntly. He says that right now, these tests are not useful for clinical care or consumer health guidance. The scientific community is basically saying, hey, this is cool for research, but please do not make major health decisions based on these things. They're just not ready for prime time.
But here's the twist. Despite the shaky science of these home kits, the real money in Silicon Valley isn't just playing around with tests. Oh no, they are making a multi-billion-dollar bet on solving aging itself.
I want you to just let this number sink in for a second. $3 billion. That's how much funding a single longevity startup called Altos Labs raised right out of the gate. This is not a side project. It is one of the biggest, most audacious bets in the history of biotech.
So who's writing these massive checks? We're talking about billionaires like Jeff Bezos. Altos Labs has used that giant war chest to build a scientific dream team, pulling Nobel laureates and star scientists out of universities with one single goal: to turn this speculative science of reversing age into a serious and very profitable business.
So what's their moonshot idea? It's a process called epigenetic reprogramming. Let's break that down. The basic idea is to take old aging cells, apply a special cocktail of proteins called Yamanaka factors to basically rewind their biological clocks. and then use these newly rejuvenated cells to create therapies that could, one day, repair age-damaged tissues anywhere in the human body.
And this, of course, brings us to the final and maybe the most important part of this story, the ethics of it all. If they actually succeed, who gets to benefit? Is longevity for everyone, or is it only for the people who can afford to buy it?
You know, right now, this entire industry is kind of like the Wild West. It's operating in a huge regulatory gray area. Most of these tests aren't approved by the FDA as actual medical devices. Instead, they get marketed as wellness products, which is a neat little loophole that lets them avoid strict oversight. That means companies can make some really big claims with very little proof.
So this all really points to two very different potential futures. On the one hand, this research could lead to a universal breakthrough in health, creating therapies that could reduce diseases like Alzheimer's and cancer for all of us. But on the other hand, it could become an exclusive perk for the super rich, a world where the wealthy can just buy extra decades of healthy life, creating the ultimate form of inequality. And that really leaves us with the final massive question at the very core of this whole quest. Is aging just a technical problem that humanity is meant to solve like any other disease, or is it a fundamental part of being human, a reality that we should learn to embrace with a little grace? Silicon Valley has already placed its multi-billion-dollar bet. The rest of us, well, we're going to have to live with the answer.